Hello everyone, Captain Happy here, and today I will be bringing you Jaws of Defeat Episode 10 featuring the Tier 10 American cruiser the Des Moines, or as it is very commonly known, the doesnt. Um, there are kind of a few moments that fit that description coming up in this battle, but this, unlike my most recent video featuring the Tier 10 French cruiser, the Henri. Um, this is an OG ship in the game. The Des Moines been around for a while, and it definitely is well known what its capabilities are. Now that being said, I've played the game for a long time, but only about 2 or 3 months ago did I unlock her, so still kind of new to me. Um, Over the mods real quick, I did buy the surveillance radar module, which is really useful. It increases the amount of radar time by 20%. Um, Main battery modification too, because as you can see, the turret traverse, it gets it down to 23.7 seconds. Um, it's up over 30 without that. And you also see I added expert marksman too on the commander, so that makes it very workable. Propulsion mod, that one works really well in conjunction with the legendary module, which I also have for the Des Moines. Um, you put these two things together, and you have a ship that can accelerate on the level of the British cruisers kind of acceleration, and it makes that kind of gameplay where you're popping in and out from behind islands much more manageable. So captain skills, priority target, because always priority target. Jack of all trades, to get your consumables back up a little bit quicker, which is very functional in this ship. There's the expert marksman, as I previously said, to help you with your turret traverse. And adrenaline rush, because it's already got a really insane reload, but might as well boost that a bit with all the HP you lose. Superintendent, to give you some more of the charges. I do end up often using all of them, so that's worthwhile. I don't like advanced firing training with the new plane makeup. Manual fire control is a little bit more effective in my experience. And then radio location, yeah, you could make the argument that's a waste of 4 points, maybe I should go with concealment. I'll think about that, but what you will see in this battle is I actually put that to some good use. The armor, you got 27 millimeters, pretty much front to back, 152 there just at the waterline protecting your citadel. Don't don't think that does anything to protect your citadel, though. It does not. AP will punch typically right through that 27 millimeter belt and go right into your citadel. 203 on the face of your guns, that becomes relevant too, because and that's something you did actually see in the Henry video I recently did. Your well-placed shots can break your guns, and you do a lot of bow tanking in the Des Moines, and losing one of your turrets is, well, can be devastating. So that amount of armor is pretty relevant. Try to not let it happen to yourself, but it's relevant to know about other Des Moines you're facing. AA, yeah, AA is pretty good. You don't have any real close, short range AA. Not really any that's effective. And I've seen people get caught out by carriers that know and take advantage of this. Once they're close, your AA kind of becomes less than impactful. But you can see you have the fast firing 203 millimeters, very nice. 50k in the hit points, torpedo reductions, nothing to flash at. So that's the general makeup of the Des Moines. Again, not something I'm not expecting to be really introducing many of you to many of these aspects. She's an oldie but goodie. but I did want to go over real quick before we get into this fantastic battle how I built mine. So let's get into it. And we have two brothers. Obviously, it's a tier 10 battle. Couple Tolkien T8s and a couple tier 9s. The nice part, at least to me, is seeing tier 8 CVs, one per side. That basically means they're going to be a spotting threat, but not too much worse to at least someone like me. And before anyone gets too excited, nope, you're not going to see a Flambass special here. The Des Moines is... There's only a handful of ships that I would willingly dive through the middle into Brothers on. But all of that being said, even if I was in a minnow or one of the other ships that I would do that in, I automatically am opposed to the idea of going at that on this map with any CV involved, because you're going to be seen relatively early, and if you try to go relatively early, the enemy team's going to be ready for you on the other side. So I'm just funny because now every time I get this map, I think of Flambass and his shenanigans on this map. No, what I when I spawn on this side anyway, I go to the spot that you see me going to now. You can stay relatively concealed. Your radar is effective across the entire decap, as well as the middle if it's necessary. And you can put pretty effective fire over and through decap from this position. And what you'll see is, because of the slope of the land, now it didn't always used to be this way, but the land here and directly in front of my ship, there are spots that I can be spotted from directly straight ahead. So the key is kind of finding that magic place. So yes, that was not a notzer, not to reference yet another YouTuber and community contributor. That was completely intentional. However, and I'll get back to the detection and the spotting thing in a second, I'm not sure if it's because of what my speed was going in. You'll see in a second here once I get detected, because I'm not quite safe in this position. I need to be backed up a little bit. I got the bow of my ship stuck in some sandy sludge here, and it takes me a minute to get out. You can see here, I turn on the engines, but I ain't moving, and I have a moment where I'm like, oh no, because even though I'm in pretty good position as far as bow on is concerned in a Des Moines, if I can't move at all, I'm a sitting duck. I mean, literally, they can just farm the crap out of me, but a little bit of forward, a little bit of backward, I end up loosing myself from the beach there and getting myself reversing to a point where I am undetected. So I start farming their Des Moines, and you will see much of this Worcester player on our team. I'm forgetting the name, I'm not seeing it right now, but he's from the 007 clan, and both he and I make for a pretty potent combination force on this little spot of the big island. But I'm relatively safe now. No CV planes can spot me, so it's just Farm City, and this Gascon decides to sail out continually. The other thing I will say, well, I'll say two things really quick. First of all, I know I've mentioned it before, it is a replay bug when a ship is first spotted and it's doing that very glitchy thing. That's not how I see it in-game, that's just how it comes up on the replay. The second thing is, I, in this battle, was desperately going for any two achievements. I'm really close to earning Halsey. Yes, don't make fun of me. It took me, I mean, maybe has it been years? I don't even know, since Halsey's been available. but I just never put a lot of time into grinding it. Either way, I'm really close. In this battle, what I need is 2 achievements. So, with only 1 DD, and I did see the Kaba on the B side capping, so I was keeping my fingers crossed for a first blood, but without the DD on this side, I was like, dang it, alright, well, I guess maybe, you know, as long as things don't go a certain way on the west flank, maybe, oh, yes, I got a shot at the Gascon, come on, come on, I need first blood. That would be 1 of 2 achievements I need. That salvo looks good, but he starts repairing right as my shells are in flight, and I do start a fire, but then I'm backing up too far, and my shells hit the cliff there, so I started to get kind of, no, go, and at this point, you know, it's early in the game and things aren't looking great for us, but I so desperately wanted a first blood that I was borderline recklessly pushing out to get more shots on the Gascon. So I get what I figure is 1 more salvo, and I got it. So that worked out for me. So there's 1 achievement down, and like I said, it's something that was on my mind for this game. However, my reckless pushing out has exposed me to fire from 3, 4, 5 enemy ships, and as I mentioned in the last game, maybe it's not just the Henri that this targeting thing happens. Now, in this one, it's a little more understandable because I am the most forward ship on my team on this flank. So that many people targeting me makes total sense. But I noticed the Kaba has made it all the way over to this cap already. So I pop my radar and try to start putting fire on him, get a couple cap resets, force him to run along with our CV throwing torps. We force him out of the cap, which is useful considering the circumstances. The enemy team has already built a near 100 point lead, which, you know, this early in the game, it's only 6 minutes in, so it's not that big of a deal, but we can't allow them to continue that point gain. Unfortunately for us, we don't really start pushing it hard, although our Shima gets the Frederick de Gross there. That was very useful, and that actually flipped the points to be in our favor. So, hooray! Okay, we're not losing terribly at the moment. We're up on points, up on ships, but not up on caps. And here, maybe this is going to be my form of Nautzer, is running into friendly ships. That one was a complete accident. I was more concerned about getting myself into a safe position. I did not look at the minimap. I did not see our Iowa there. When that type of thing happens, I do always try and apologize in chat. It's not a big deal. It's not like we were jammed up against each other or caused a lot of damage to either one of us, but, you know, common courtesy kind of thing. And while I have eyes on the Des Moines who took up, I don't know that it was a direct counter to me in our Worcester's position, but that position, I've mentioned it in another video, that island over there is arguably one of the most overpowered islands in the entire game. You, especially in an American cruiser or an American anything, you do have the shell arcs to fire over it, and you can pretty much be invulnerable from incoming fire, with the exception of obviously the position I was just in. Now here, I mentioned before, where RPF is a debatable skill to have on an American cruiser in particular, but here, in combination with the minimap, I know full well where that other Des Moines went. He started coming down the middle, and I let my team know as soon as I can here. I think I indicate on the minimap for them to realize he's coming. Meanwhile, the Kaba does manage to get D, so that's not good, and they've drawn even on ships. It's only 2-2, but with the 3 caps and equal number of ships killed, they now have more than a 100-point lead and are gaining far faster than we are. So at this point, something needs to be done. And there's the Des Moines. He popped up in the middle right there. Now, he kind of sits. He doesn't pose a tremendous threat, but him being there is going to make certain things more complicated. And it was with his presence there and the fact that the Capt is running north out of the Capt that I decide, well, let's turn back towards this other flank. There's 4 friendly ships on the flank I'm on right now, and there is now almost none even close to contesting on the west flank. So I figured lending my support there and maybe deterring this Des Moines from pushing it off would be a good thing. So you can see there I popped my radar to keep them spotted and make them afraid to come forward at all. It wasn't so much for myself to do damage, maybe my teammate could do a little bit, but it was really mostly as a deterrent. I did not want him coming forward, because look at the amount of ships he would have side shots on from there. Don't want that. So I move to this side. I try to put myself in a position where I won't be spotted by that Des Moines, which right here is about the only time I'm vulnerable. Once I get to the far side, there was an enemy minnow that was briefly spotted, and his smoke ends up really being something I can use to my advantage. And this is another thing that, it's hard to keep all this stuff in mind, but with this in particular, it was completely intentional on me, and I get detected and undetected as it goes on, but to use the minnow's smoke to keep myself undetected from these battleships while I try to do as much damage as I can and deter their push. So the Iowa is obviously the primary target, as he's the closest and he's the one pushing most aggressively. So we start firing on him and get a fire, which is nice, but he extinguishes it immediately. We all know what kind of a mistake that is, especially when you have a ship like the Des Moines or a Russian cruiser or anything like that firing at you, where my whole gig here is setting fires. So we keep going, we keep pumping. We do have our friendly Iowa charging him, which is nice. There's a fire, and there's my second kill. So next up is the enemy Bismarck, and despite the fact that we are down significantly in caps, our team is doing fairly well in the kill department, and we're keeping this game pretty close. Close enough to be competitive, and I haven't noticed the frequency of these games, or these types of games, as much as I have in the past 3 or 4 months. But I can remember making comments in several different games. Something along the lines of, who needs caps? Where, and this has gone both ways, they've been wins and losses, but when the losing team, at least at one point in the battle, has all or most of the caps for most of the battle. But the winning team ends up just doing much more proficient work at killing the enemy, and when you can pull that off, it doesn't matter how many caps they have as long as you kill them quickly. And there goes the Bismarck for kill number 3, which is nice. And here, I run into a bit of an issue myself. A near full health Des Moines completely bow on to me. I am fortunate in many respects that he didn't take advantage of my broadside and fired HE the whole time, but I realized relatively quickly that I don't want to make that trade. He will kill me before I'm able to kill him, so I needed to turn tail and get out of his gun range as quick as possible. And I even decided, you know what, I'm going to stop shooting. I've got a friendly Iowa over there, and at the very least we'll be able to cap, and if that Des Moines wants to reset him, the island he's behind, he can't fire over at our Iowa. So he's going to have to expose himself to reset the cap or to fight our Iowa at all. So I just forget about it, and I kite away, I go undetected, so he stops firing on me. I pop my last heal, and that will be very, very, very important. as will some of these. They're not exactly blind shots, but I am definitely using the mini-map target indicator that Wargaming introduced a couple patches ago to put some fire on this Des Moines in the middle, which will end up being very important. In fact, every little bit of damage I can do to that Des Moines will end up being very important. We are still up on ships, but as you can see, the points have ticked rather dramatically away. So now is when we've had a bit of a lull in our killing of the enemy team, and that's allowed their 3 caps to 1 to give them a nearly 200 point advantage over us. However, this Yamato sailed right into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our friendly ships, and we're able to all focus him down, and that gives us another significant chunk in the points department. And if I can sneak it, can I sneak it? Yes, I can. For kill number 4, we get the Yamato. However, simultaneously, he kills our Kronstadt. So, we gain back some ground in the points, but not entirely. Now, if you'll notice, the 007 Clan Worcester, Misher, that's his name, who I made a comment about before. He's up there in the east, up by that island, and he has cornered the enemy Kava. And that's very, very, very important. I did not end up watching what he did, but he does end up radaring him and killing him. And that gives us another substantial advantage here in this game. Still not in points. You can see on the other flank. Yep, there goes the Kava. On the other flank, our Iowa has drawn out the enemy Des Moines that was parked behind the island. And it looks like the enemy Des Moines is going for a ram, but he's kind of low HP for that. And I can see what his thinking was. He needed to stop the Iowa at all costs. But as I kind of predicted, the Iowa was able to do damage because the Des Moines couldn't stay behind that island. And actually, the Des Moines ends up ramming him, but the Iowa loses almost no HP in that exchange. So, here we are. We are now with the Worcester killing the Lexington. We now have points lead back. We're up by 80 points, and that's when I come face to face with this enemy Des Moines, and I make major mistake number 2 in this game, and it's coming up in a minute. I switch to AP, I break a gun, huge for me to limit his DPM considering his HP advantage compared to mine. But right about here is where I make the mistake. I switch back to HE, thinking, okay, I broke his gun, but I'm like, no, that's not going to be enough. He's going to get it back up. So I accidentally hit AP, and it takes an entire reload for me to get my guns back up. Fortunately, it doesn't matter. I end up winning that battle, getting the Kraken unleash, and winning what was a very close battle the entire time for my team. So that felt really, really good. And as I mentioned in the beginning, 1, 2, 3 achievements. You can see task 7 is completed for Halsey. So I accomplished a win. I got a Kraken, 2400 base XP, which is nice. And I got my achievement for Halsey. So all things said, this was the very last game I played of the night. It was after clan battles, which was a 50-50, and it was one of those things you hope for, which was a really, really positive, solid way to end your evening, and a good note to end on in World of Warships. That's all for today, folks. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. This is Captain Happy, signing off.